Joining us at a very steamy Minnesota Vikings training camp is the senior NFL editor for the Monday Morning Quarterback, Albert Breer. It was a hot one out there. You weren't expecting that coming to Minnesota.
The good news is I made it through practice. The bad news is like every time I come here, it's 100 degrees, which is really weird. And that goes back to like the lockout in 2010.
Oh, wow.
So this was another one. This is like it's like Louisiana when I'm here.
Oh, yeah. Being from there, I know it gets a little sticky, and I totally understand. Something that you were able to do at the end of practice, I saw you talk to Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Getting some background on the team, getting ready for the season. He was just on quarterback, dealing with all of that, right? Yeah. What was your takeaway from the Netflix series?
Yeah, I think it like made him more human, more relatable. Like I really thought like. In general, it showed what all those guys go through, you know, and it's so much, and that job is so hard, and I think a lot of people look at it and say, okay, like, well, the guy takes 3 steps back, he looks down the field. Some are better than others. 1, 2, 3. I got to decide who I'm going to throw the ball to, and there's so much more that goes into it, and it's not just the football stuff. It's like the stuff that they do to get their bodies ready, and I think you saw that with all 3 guys.
Yeah.
And, with Kirk, you obviously saw the personal side. It felt to me like he opened the doors to his life more than any of the other guys. And I thought that was great because he really is a good guy, and I think that America got to see that.
Definitely. Well, he's leading this Minnesota Vikings team who the expectations were a little unknown last season. Everything was very brand new, but there's no doubt about it, as when you win the division, all eyes are on you.
Yep.
So now as you have these same conversations that you had last training camp and you start those up again this time around, what are some of the themes that you hear from these players and coaches?
Yeah, I think there's obviously a little bit of a reset going on here because, like the money is the money, and they had to go work through a lot of that. So no Eric Kendricks, no Adam Thielen, like guys who are leaders on the team for a while. It feels like the team's being handed over to younger guys, Now you still have Kirk and Harrison Smith here, but, a guy like Justin Jefferson now probably has to do a little bit more leadership-wise. Christian Darrisaw, same thing. You look at, Jordan Hicks, who is already a leader now, maybe he has to be even more so that Kendricks is gone. So you see the shifting, and I think you see the philosophy that Kwesi and Kevin are going to take to building the team. And I think when they came in here, and this is just my opinion, they felt like, to some degree, like there had been money invested in a certain way where it wasn't the way that it's happening across the league now. And what you're seeing across the league is premium positions getting paid at a premium level and teams making it work in other places. That's how it was for Kwesi in San Francisco and how it was for Kevin in LA. And so, I think you're going to slowly continue to see that shift happening. And there are guys on the roster right now that are going to fall into that category. Darrisaw and Jefferson obviously being 2 of them.
Yeah, you mentioned Justin Jefferson. Also got a chance to talk to him today and catch up. I know you've covered him for a while now, being in this league. When a lot of questions that we get personally, can JJ get to 2,000 yards this season? What are your thoughts on that?
He can, yeah. Like I think a lot of it at that position depends on how other teams are approaching you, and especially now with Adam gone, I think early on everybody's going to be throwing the kitchen sink at him. So, like numbers-wise, he might not be as good, but he could be a better player, And I think that's one thing that everybody's got to pay attention to. Now he's as close to uncoverable as any receiver in the league, so he's going to produce. The question is what that looks like. And I think, with that's going to create opportunities for your KJ Osbornes, for your Jalen Nailors, for your Jordan Addisons. But certainly, I think that, the numbers might not tell the full tale, even if you've got a guy who I think will probably be a better player, crazy as that sounds, than he was last year.
As you mentioned earlier, there are several veterans who are no longer with the team, giving a lot of second, third, fourth-year players the ability to come in and maybe have a breakout season. Is there a particular name that you have your eye on as maybe a potential player to kind of come on the scene this year?
Madison, I think, is the easy one, right? And not that he's that young, but obviously he'll have more opportunity with Dalvin gone. And then I think on defense, a couple of the guys who are flexible pieces, I think are going to be really important to what Brian Flores is going to want to do creatively. So, you're talking about Byron Murphy, who can play inside and outside of corner, Josh Metellus, who can play linebacker and safety. I think the guys who have, and just knowing what I know about Flo's defense and all that time he spent in New England and then in Miami, I think you're going to see a defense that's going to throw a lot at people. And the way you do that is by having guys who can move and play in different positions. And so Metellus and Murphy would be 2 that I think could wind up having really nice years because of how they fit what Flores is trying to do.
What is Flores trying to do, you think, here? Knowing what the defense was like last season?
Yeah. It's I think it's sort of the counterpoint to what the Vikings have built on offense and what Kevin O'Connell and Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan and all those guys are on offense. And the term for it, I'm sure you've heard, is the illusion of complexity.
Yeah.
And I think on defense, you're going to see that, where it's easy for the defensive players to get it, but it's tough for the offensive players to decipher what's going on. And so, like, I think that's what you're looking for is the defense playing fast in the preseason. How fast are the safeties moving? How fast are the linebackers moving? How hard are the hits? You know, a lot of times you can see in contact how confident players are, because Flo's going to be able to do a lot scheme-wise. And the key to what he's doing scheme-wise is that it's easy for his players. And he's always been a master at that. So I think, you know, just how fast the players are moving early on is going to be an indication of how far along they are.
I like that. I don't really think I've heard anyone quite describe it this way, but it honestly makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
So we appreciate your insight, Albert. Thank you so much for being out here and braving the elements for this, second day of training camp.
All right. Thanks, Tatum.